Hello and welcome to this informational presentation on CDT. My name is Dr. Darren Stevens. In this video we will look at how CDT improves personality data by offering a perspective on trait theory we haven't seen before. This will include an understanding of cognitive intentions and thinking styles. For more information on each of those, please do watch the other videos in this series. In this video we are going to explain how personality isn't real when viewed through the lens of CDT. It is a nominalization, and how with sufficient awareness one can choose who and how they are in the moment at any given time. You might be familiar with Allport's 18,000 traits, which are all really descriptions, or Cattell's trait theory of personality. Allport came up with the cardinal, central and secondary traits. Please Google him for more information. And in 1941, Cattell came up with the 16 personality factor questionnaire, which is a more clinical version of trait theory. Then along came Eysenck in 1952, who proposed that individual differences in personality can be explained by variations in three fundamental dimensions: extroversion, introversion, neuroticism and emotional stability, and psychoticism. These dimensions are believed to be biologically based and heritable. So if you have seen the other video on what is CDT and know a little about it, we can move straight on to how it impacts Ocean. This very busy slide is an illustration of Ocean with its 30 facets and even more sub-facets that personality psychologists tell us are what make up our personality. For example, trait theory suggests that if you score highly on the facets of extroversion, you are an extrovert. If you score lowly, you are an introvert. And if you look at the descriptions, it kind of makes sense. However, they are descriptions. What is missing from this approach is on the next slide. Intention, awareness, choice and response. When you filter trait theory through the lens of the four pillars of CDT, you get a fundamentally different outcome. What might be considered a facet of our personality profoundly shifts when you question if it is a choice or a habit. Without awareness, it's a habit, and thus you're not in control, regardless of what the psychometric might tell you. This is one of the reasons we see psychometric isomorphism within trait theory tests. So a task is deemed psychometrically isomorphic if the various instances of that task do not meaningfully differ with respect to psychometric properties, i.e. difficulty, discrimination or guessing. So when we look at traits from a meaning-making perspective and understand that your meaning might not be my meaning, how does this impact trait theory outcomes? Simplistically speaking, if we take the two labels of introvert and extrovert as an example of choice, it might look like this. Internal and external are how we determine where we get our rules from. See the short video on cognitive intentions for more information. A conscious ambivert is a different construction of self to an unconscious version. So let's see what this means in practice. When we know how the trait-based behavioral outcomes of introvert and extrovert are deconstructed using cognitive intentions, we can determine to a much more profound degree how we do them in the moment. But more importantly, from CDT we can also uncover how much of our introversion is actually a choice. More on that in a moment. In CDT terms, we are actually separating these two behavioral descriptions at our peril. The point then isn't if someone is an introvert or an extrovert, but how much of our thinking in the moment that leads to these two behavioral outcomes is an aware choice from a conscious intention. In other words, can you choose not to do extrovert in the moment? If you can, then the labels disappear and intention, awareness, choice, response is more important. If you cannot, then extroversion is a habit and you're not in control. This is what I think psychometrics actually measure, missing out the complexity of choice and awareness of intention entirely. Here is an example using agreeableness. This personality trait is majorly regarded as sympathetic, warm, kind and cooperative. High scorers in this are empathetic and considerate, whereas low scorers may be tilting towards selfishness as well as of a lack of empathy. The point here is we know exactly how to deconstruct these definitions using cognitive intentions. The individual with this outcome on their identity compass will be Keegan stage 3 and extroverted. So when you combine the two slides and use the identity compass profile output to show how the individual scores for all of the component cognitive intentions, we have a specific score on self-awareness for agreeableness. This means that we can know how at choice someone is with agreeableness. Do the same for the other 4 factors of Ocean, and constructive development theory will give you a score for Ocean that has never been done before. How will this change trait theory? Well, by injecting intention, awareness, choice, response into it, we get a far more robust measure of personality data. So in summary, when you know how you deconstruct your version of introversion and can be consciously choosing to reconstruct it differently, the label is no longer meaningful, and we are left with a scaled response of your awareness of your capacity to be who you want to be in the moment. This suggests that at the higher levels of the awareness quotient scale within CDT, personality isn't real, it's a choice. Thank you for listening and watching. Do get in touch today if you're interested in more about this or CDT, Next Level Coaching, or the Institute in general. Take care.